Hello, one more time, and welcome back. Today's webinar is Navigating Your Year of Service. I'm Calvin Landrum.
And I'm Khadija Carr.
Here at AmeriCorps VISTA headquarters in Washington, D.C., and we will be your hosts for today. So now that you know who we are and where we're located, we want to know where you're serving. So using the annotation tools in the upper left side of your screen, click on the one that looks like an arrow on the far left and use it to point to where you're serving as a VISTA. Casey, it looks like Casey Hobson is in Alaska. We got Tim in, oh man, I'm really bad at states. What's above Oklahoma? I don't know what's above Oklahoma. Oh,
is it Kansas? It's Kansas.
Oh, here we
Kansas.
go. We have a map right behind us. It's Kansas. We got Beata. We got Jess Hughes up in, looks like New Hampshire. Letitia, you are down in Florida. Hello. Thank you for getting that in. I saw you earlier. We got Kevin, Roddy, Tiara. Tiara, I don't know where you are. Maybe like in Alaska. Miguel says, how do I put my location on the map? Miguel, in the upper left-hand corner of your webinar page screen, you're going to see an annotation tool. It's like a little pen. You click on that, and then click on the one that looks like an arrow, and then you can click on the screen. Caitlin, let's see, everyone's kind of coming in here now. Here we go. Look at that. People from all over. Margot, cool name. I really like the name Margot. Jared, are you in Hawaii, Jared? I think everyone's got a little jealous of that one. Got a few people in Texas. Texas represent. I'm from Texas. It's my home place. We got anyone in here from, let's see, Virginia. We got people from Virginia. I'm so bad at states. Well, seeing this is making me realize how terrible I am at geography. But yeah, it looks like someone's like, I don't think we have anyone from Puerto Rico on this one. But awesome. Look at this. We have people from all over the United States. Oh, good job. Guys, thanks for doing that. So this is just to give us a rough idea of where everyone is located. But you can connect with each other through the VISTA Campus map and your online classroom by using your class roster. It is downloadable.
All right. So now you're in your third day as a VISTA member. We hope it's going well. We expect you're participating in an on-site orientation and training during these first weeks of VISTA service. So you're likely learning about your organization, how things get done there, what you'll be doing as a VISTA member, and more about the community you'll serve. We wanted to start our time together going over the benefits that you're eligible for and give you some additional resources where you can learn more about these benefits. Let's get started by having you answer this poll question as it appears on your screen. What benefits do you want to learn more about? Choose all that apply. The first is health care. Do I need to have health insurance? What kinds of things can I get reimbursed for?
Good questions you may want to ask yourself.
Living allowance. How much am I getting paid? When is my first living allowance payment? Education award. How long do I have to use it? How can I use it? Loan forbearance or deferment. What's the difference?
What is the difference?
Which is the better option for you?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one later too. What is the difference?
Also, if you have anything that I haven't mentioned, you can feel free to post it in the chat panel.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for these results to calculate, oh, there they go. Cool. So let's see. We got most people saying that they need help with health care, and then the living allowance, then the education. Or it's funny how it kind of just runs straight down the line on what everyone thinks. So loan forbearance, and then other posts in the chat panel. Let's see. What else did anyone post anything in the chat panel? I'd like to learn more about sick and personal days and relevant procedures. We'd like to learn more about what professional development opportunities are available. Awesome, awesome. We will we'll be discussing both of those things today, actually. All right, so cool. Yeah, so during the session, we're going to help guide you to the answers to those questions and give you the tools that you need to get the support that you need. So this webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted for you to view later on. So if you need to if you need to rewatch it, you can always do that on the VISTA campus, but you may want to take notes on the more higher priority topics as we go through this webinar.
That is right, Calvin. This session is all about you. And by the end of the session, you'll be able to identify benefits that are important to you, know where to find information, understand key terms and conditions of VISTA service, and find information and support for the needs you've identified and prioritized as most essential for you to have a successful year of service. Let's start by taking a look at the two main websites that you'll use as a VISTA member, the VISTA Campus and MyAmeriCorps. My.americorps.gov is where you applied to your position. This is also where you did your direct deposit and where you can access your VISTA assignment description. VISTAcampus.gov is where you completed your onboarding courses and tutorials, but the VISTA Campus has much more than tutorials you completed before coming to PSO. There are also opportunities for ongoing learning. You can sign up for courses, find other VISTAs, and also learn more about all of your benefits. Let's dive a little deeper into the VISTA Campus and see what it has to offer.
Totally. So by now, everyone should have already created their account on the VISTA Campus. You had to do that to do the Terms and Conditions course, to take a look at that VISTA Benefits Hub, do some of those required onboarding courses. And, you know, to make it easier to find the resources that you need, we're going to take a look at how the VISTA Campus is organized. We'll start with Life as a VISTA. Now, you've already seen some of the resources here, like I said, because you completed the pre-service courses before starting on Monday. The in-service resources will be useful while you're serving as a VISTA. You'll probably want to refer back to, you know, the benefits, so that if you have questions throughout your year about your living allowance, about your health care, that's where you're going to be able to find that information. You'll also need to refer to the VISTA Member Handbook, which is essentially your guide to VISTA policy and a source for answers to many of those common questions. Things like sick leave, like what is the sick leave policy? What's the process for that? You're going to be able to find that in the handbook.
Diving right in, the work. The work provides online tutorials, reading, and self-directed learning on topics like working with volunteers, communication, fundraising, and more. VISTA program area resources contain materials related to areas like tutoring, mentoring, financial literacy, and education. So if your project relates to one of these, you'll definitely want to look there. There are also additional opportunities and resources around community development, project management, and much more.
Now, in the Connect and Learn heading, you're going to find the VISTA forums with numerous discussion topics, upcoming webinars, and the VISTA online courses. As we mentioned earlier, the VISTA map is also here, and it is a great way to connect with VISTAs and alums serving in your area or just serving across the country. If you're curious, you can take a look at that and see who is serving around you. You can kind of scroll over. It's sort of like a Google map with little pins of all the VISTAs serving around you.
It's important to know that PSO is really just the start of your learning process as a VISTA member. You'll receive an invitation to a webinar called Plan Your Professional Development within the next week or so. This session will help you develop a concrete plan for gaining the knowledge and skills you'll need to succeed. Your session is scheduled for May 10th. Plus, every month, VISTA offers you webinars on a range of topics related to life as a VISTA, such as living on the living allowance and using and understanding your health care benefits, and topics related to the work of a VISTA, such as poverty in America and researching grants. We record these sessions and offer them as webinars on demand. So if by chance you miss a session, you can always go back and watch it at any time.
Totally, and we also offer two optional courses, one on volunteer mobilization and one on resource development. And you can take these both as VISTA members. The courses combine the trainings you receive during PSO with live webinars, online discussion groups, readings, and assignments. The courses are free, and if you pass, you can receive college credit recommendations. Now, these two courses are not part of the PSO blend, keep that in mind, but they are available for you to apply to, again, for free if you're interested, and they will help, and if they'll help you with your VAD and your professional development goals. If interested, you go on the VISTA campus, click Apply Now, and since space is limited, it is, you do have to wait a little bit to hear back if you were accepted into the course or not. But you will receive an email when the next round of course offerings are available, which currently is slated for spring-summer 2017.
I would definitely recommend taking these courses. I took the resource development course during my service year, and it was really beneficial for me to have taken this because project-wise and in terms of professional development, it was super beneficial. Let's take a look at the Member Handbook for a moment. So the Member Handbook is the one place you can reference for VISTA policy. For example, how much leave time do you have as a VISTA member? Can you review your terms and conditions and laws and regulations and much more? The Let's column allows you to quickly find a specific chapter. If you don't have this in front of you and you haven't already done so, take a little bit of time to familiarize yourself with the information that's in the Member Handbook.
Totally. So, I'm sorry, and to everyone on the phone, you have to excuse me, I'm battling some allergies. If you hear me sniffling, my apologies. So as a VISTA, there are a lot of benefits available to you during your service year. As you've seen, this page of the VISTA campus contains an overview of all of your benefits. Now, some of these benefits, such as the living allowance, are available to everyone. Other benefits may only be useful to some of you, such as child care assistance. And honestly, that may be the only one that's kind of optional for everyone. We'll post a link in the chat to your benefits. So we'll now take a look at a few of these benefits that tend to generate questions from you, the VISTAs. Your PSO Blend workbook was sent to you on Monday, and the link to the workbook is now in the chat. We recommend keeping this workbook handy throughout your service as it provides quite a bit of detail about your benefits and your terms and conditions of service. So at this point, if you need quick reference, please take notes.
You might be interested to know when you will receive your first living allowance payment. Does anybody know when they'll be receiving their first payment? Let's see if someone replies in the chat.
Oh, no, they already posted that.
Oh,
That's
no.
Right. They got us.
Well, for those of you who have not seen it, the answer is May 19th, 2017. And unless you are paid by a grant, you will need to check with your supervisor for that pay date. Again, if you are paid by a grant, you will need to check with your supervisor for your pay date because it will not be May 19th. You are starting right after the beginning of a pay period, so you'll receive a partial living allowance on the 19th. It will be for the 13 days of service that you have served, and you'll receive pay for a full 14 days on June 2nd, and so on. The living allowance schedule can be found on the VISTA campus, and the link has been posted in the chat as well as in your PSO Blend workbook.
Awesome.
It's important to know that you are paid every 2 weeks, which is not the same as twice a month. With your monthly amount, you can do the math to determine how much you will appear in your bank account every 2 weeks before taxes. Because state taxes are not deducted, you need to determine what you owe to the state you are a resident of. We suggest you check with your state tax office to figure that out. If you don't know what the amount of your living allowance is, you should ask your VISTA supervisor first. If they do not know, you may ask your state office or call the National Service Hotline in that order. You can also view the living allowances rates by county document that's on the VISTA campus to determine your living allowance amount. And this can be accessed on my.americorps.gov.
Awesome. All right. So from the benefits page on the campus, you can again, you can again access the living allowance page. Click on the resources tab to access the resources. You'll find out more information about your living allowance and learn how to live on the living allowance. VISTAs also discuss how to make ends meet on the campus forums. So if you go on those forums, there's an entire section about living on the living allowance, kind of tips and tricks, and how different VISTAs manage their living allowance.
You're paid through direct deposit, which means the money automatically appears in your bank account every 2 weeks. Please make sure that you've entered your bank account and routing numbers correctly in MyAmericorps. Otherwise, your living allowance will not arrive, and it could be weeks before you're paid. The routing number and account number are on your checks, and they may also be found on your bank's website. But make sure you select the correct one. You probably know this already, but the account number on your debit card or credit card is not your checking account number. or routing number, so don't try to enter it. If you are confused or unsure of these numbers, please contact your bank.
Yeah, and I'd like to really emphasize that point because sometimes we get really frustrated calls. If your account number is even one digit incorrect, we cannot pay you, and it will take an additional 2 weeks to receive those funds. So please keep that in mind. If you don't do anything else today, please go in and double check your direct deposit account and make sure that your numbers are correct, because we definitely want to get you paid. And if anything goes wrong with that, our hands are tied and we can't pay you for an additional 2 weeks. So please make sure that those are correct. I want to save you all some heartache.
Sure, that's right, Calvin. And also related to your living allowance, we typically get a lot of questions about public assistance, and we wanted to give you some important information. If you apply and enroll in SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, now or at the time, anytime during your service year, your living allowance and other VISTA payments will be counted as income in calculating your eligibility and benefit level. For most other public assistance program benefits, if you are applying for new benefits, your living allowance should not be factored in when determining the level of benefits you receive. If you are already receiving SNAP, TANF, or LIHEAP, or other public assistance benefits prior to enrolling in the VISTA program, your living allowance or any other payments you receive from the VISTA program should not affect the level of assistance you receive. Public benefits are managed by state or local entities, and CMCS is not in any way involved in how they're administered, so you'll want to speak with a caseworker for advice. In about a week, you will be able to print a letter citing the authority for income disregard from your home page in my.americorps.gov.
Yeah, totally. And we did have a chat, so we had a couple of questions in the chat about their service letters and things like that. So once we receive your oath, everyone should have sent in their oath on Monday. Once we get that back, that's when we go into the system and we activate you for service. So that's a term that you may hear throughout this webinar, is activate. And essentially what that means is that we have all of your paperwork, we have your oath, we're ready to go, we can start paying you. Once we have all that, we press the button that says, yes, this person's serving, they are cleared for service. That's when you're going to be able to go into your My AmeriCorps account and download that service letter. That's when you'll be able to get that income disregard letter. You'll be able to get, that's when you'll have access to your education award benefit, like the forbearance request. So that's when all that happens. And that'll happen about within a week from Monday. So as soon as we get your oath, we're checking in your paperwork. So sometime this week, you'll have access to those links. And we've kind of been activating everyone as we get those oaths. So if you have any questions, like if we get to next week and you're not activated yet, it's probably because you're missing some sort of paperwork that we reach out to you about. So give the VMSU a call, and they can help you figure out what you're missing.
We've just reviewed information regarding the living allowance you received during service. Remember to refer to the benefits page of the VISTA campus for more details about any of your benefits. We may have generated a few questions about your benefits, so we'll pause for just a moment to take some of them now. I'll invite our operator on the line to give us instructions on how to ask a question via phone.
Thank you. We would now like to open the lines for any questions. If anyone does have a question, please unmute your phone and record your name when prompted. Again, it's *1, unmute your phone, and record your name when prompted. One moment while we wait for questions.
Thank you, Ivy. So let's see. So we've got a couple questions. And something to keep in mind also, guys, please make sure, put your questions in the Q&A panel, because we do want to make sure that we get to them and that we're able to answer all of them. If you post them in the chat, it's really hard to keep track of them, and they will get lost. But I do see your question, Sarah. It says, how do we know that you've received our oath? Is there any way to confirm before the end of the week? Sarah, you can email the VMSU, email vmsu@cns.gov, and say, hey, just double checking that you received this, and someone will get back to you, and they'll let you know that it's been received. It'll most likely be Jake, who is our VMSU helper that is working on this PSO. He's the one that's activating you, so he will have gotten those documents, and he'll be able to let you know. But if you just email vmsu@cns.gov, that's a way for you to double check that. Let's see. Do we have any other questions about the living allowance? Let's see. It looks like I don't think we have any. Do you guys on do you have any other questions? Oh, here we go. We got one. Woo, cool. This one is from Jasmine. Jasmine, do we have a VISTA timesheet, or is there a certain way we are supposed to track our hours through our site? So Jasmine, the VISTA program is not keeping track of your service hours. VISTA program is not an hourly program, but a yearly program. You serve a full 365 days. Your site may require you to do a time and attendance sheet, but that's going to vary based on the project. So some people may have to, some people may not have to. I would talk to your site supervisor to say, hey, what do I need to do in terms of hours tracking and attendance? Because most likely they're going to have a system for that, but the VISTA program as a whole does not. So there's nothing that you need to report to VISTA, but you may need to report to your site supervisor or to your project. Anything else you guys see?
I'm seeing.
All right.
I'm seeing one here. Does the living allowance account for a phone bill? I have to call a long list of parents at my site, and I'm not sure how to do this with no phone at my office.
Oh, interesting. Ms. Young, your site should be providing you with a phone and a computer, especially if calling people is a part of your, especially if calling people is a part of your service. It's in the contract, that they signed with VISTA that says I will supply my VISTA with a phone and a workstation. So that is sort of an issue. What I'm going to do, Ms. Young, is I'm going to take down your name, and then I'll follow up with you in your state office after this webinar. So we'll get that resolved. But yeah, they should be providing you with a phone. The living allowance does not, sort of in regards to your question, doesn't factor in you paying a phone bill for your work at your site. Like, you shouldn't be paying to work, essentially, and your work site should be providing that for you. So, all right. Rose says, my weekly allowance is lower than what they told me I was going to get. I do not understand it. Rose, it sounds like your situation, well, living allowance is a unique situation. So, Rose, I'm going to write you down too, and I'll follow up with you after this to get down to the bottom of it. Make sure that you are looking and noting that federal taxes are deducted. Take a look at that living allowance calendar. That living allowance calculation, it's living allowance rates, and make sure that you're calculating correctly. Don't forget that you are paid by the day. So there's a daily rate there, most likely $32.55, and you multiply that times the number of days you're in service, and that's how you figure out your living allowance. But if you have questions about that, shoot me an email or I'll email you, whichever one of us gets to each other first, and we'll figure it out, all right?
All right, I'm seeing one more here, and it is from Joseph. Is it too late to get a relocation refund? I thought mine went through before I moved and just realized that it did not.
All right, Joseph, this is going to be a question for the VMSU. So, Joseph, if you would email vmsu@cns.gov with this question. That's going to get to Jake down at the VMSU, and he will help you out with this one. Jake is the one that calculates the relocation reimbursements, and we'll get that sorted out for you. All right, so on that note, I'm going to check one time to see if we have anyone on the phone.
We do have one question on the phone. I think she said her last name is Miss Hiller. Your line is open.
All right, hello. Hello?
If you queued up for a question on the phone, please check the mute feature on your line. Ms. Hiller?
All right, well, if you think of your question, please go ahead and put it in the Q&A, and we'll get to you a little bit later. But for now, we are going to move on. So our next section is on the VISTA healthcare benefit. So we understand that healthcare is an important topic and that we all have different needs around healthcare. We'll give you an overview of the VISTA healthcare allowance and the benefit. And for those of you who have further questions, especially ones that are very specific to your own individual situation, please come talk to me after this session. You can shoot me an email or shoot the VMSU an email, and we can help you out with those very specific personal situations. Now, the ACA governs access to health care, insurance, and its provisions apply to everyone, including you as a VISTA member. You're required to have insurance unless you are exempt. That means you are legally exempt from having insurance. That means you've gone onto the healthcare.gov website, you've put in your information, and they've told you that you are exempt from having health insurance. If you are exempt, we do offer a safety net health benefit. The safety net covers emergencies, some out-of-pocket expenses, prescriptions, and other basic medical expenses. Now, due to the requirements set forth by the ACA, some of you may be required to have additional insurance coverage. Please visit healthcare.gov and seek assistance from a healthcare navigator to determine your level of responsibility. Now, again, we understand that healthcare is not one-size-fits-all, and that individual circumstances vary and may change during your service year. Now, we encourage you to please review the Affordable Care Act and your personal circumstances to find the best healthcare options that suit your needs. So, here are the health benefits available to you. And note that only one of these options is going to fit your specific situation. So, if you have health insurance, I mean, do you currently have health insurance either through your parents or on your own? You have health insurance. You're eligible to enroll in the VISTA Healthcare Allowance, which provides reimbursement of up to $7,150 for qualifying healthcare expenses. This is limited to essential health benefits, so elective and cosmetic procedures may not be covered. We set the allowance at $7,150 because that is the maximum out-of-pocket expense any American will incur in 2017. Now, you can use this healthcare allowance towards your annual deductible or co-insurance costs, co-payments for office visits or prescriptions, but the allowance will not reimburse you for the cost of actually buying insurance or paying your monthly premium. So you can't pay for your insurance using the health care allowance. You can only pay for things that aren't covered by your health insurance. Now, if you're exempt and are not legally required to maintain insurance, you're eligible to enroll in the AmeriCorps VISTA Health Benefit Plan. Now, this is a safety net plan that covers basic health care needs. Both these benefits are administered by the International Medical Group, or IMG, and to receive a benefit, you must enroll. There's no automatic enrollment, so keep in mind that you must enroll in one of these benefits, and it does require an action on your part. To make your selection on the AmeriCorps, you'll go to AmeriCorpsVista.imglobal.com, and that's where you enroll. Now, you'll be able to enroll about a week from today, and we'll have 60 days from the time you begin service to enroll in a benefit. So you'll be able to enroll once you're activated. Remember that word that we talked about. Once you're activated for service, that's when you'll be able to enroll in a health care benefit. And you'll have 60 days from the time you begin service to do so. However, note that other health care coverage applications may take weeks or even months to be processed. So in order to not miss that 60-day deadline, if you don't have insurance and you have to have it, go ahead and get that process going because it could take longer than you expect. Please know that you cannot have both benefits. You will only qualify for one of them. A really great thing is that new as of August 1st of last year, coverage for routine dental and vision services will now be offered to all members participating in either the health care allowance or the health benefit plan. So if you get the health care allowance, you're able to be reimbursed for routine dental coverage. All right. This includes oral exams, x-rays, fillings, and the emergency alleviation of pain. And you can also be reimbursed for routine vision, such as an annual eye exam and a complete pair of glasses annually. If you are exempt from having health insurance and you get the health benefit plan, you'll have to go to IMG for those details because they're a little more complicated. All right, so as we talk about health insurance, please let us know if you have any questions. Again, if you have a question or want to call it over the phone, you press *1 and we'll come and talk to you. So let's see, what do we have here? Let's see. Does our own health insurance also include Medicaid? It does. If you have Medicaid, that is considered insurance for our purposes, and you're eligible to receive the health care allowance. Let's see. Is it eligible if I could have, let's see. Sorry. I lost that question. Is it eligible if I could have my health insurance from Seven Corners, Inc.? I'm not sure what this question means. So we used to do Seven Corners, but once the healthcare requirements changed for all Americans, we had to change up our health benefit offerings. So we no longer offer Seven Corners. What we offer you are these two options. I hope that answers your question. If not, please shoot me an email, and we'll help you out with that. I got this question about someone has not enrolled in a health benefit plan yet, or they're new to getting health insurance and didn't realize that there was a deadline for doing so. Good news for you as a VISTA is that your VISTA service counts as a qualifying life event. So you'll see that on the healthcare.gov website, which basically means that your VISTA service gives you an open enrollment period. So you're able to now, even though that open enrollment deadline has passed, you're able to go in and purchase insurance as a condition of your VISTA service. You have, I believe you have 30 or 60 days to go in and do that. But your VISTA service counts as a qualifying life event that enables you to enroll in health insurance outside of that open window. So for the person who is worried about that, please don't be worried about that. When you go in to apply, you have the option to say that you're a VISTA member, and that is your qualifying event to now enroll in health insurance outside of that deadline.
Let's see. I checked the website, and they said that pump supplies are not part of the plan. How can I get them to cover my pump or inhaler?
So if you have insurance that covers part of that, that means you'd opt to get the healthcare allowance, which means you'd submit for reimbursement. So whatever part of those products or supplies that your insurance currently doesn't cover, the healthcare allowance would reimburse you for the cost of getting those supplies. And then someone says, how do you get reimbursed for copayments? So while we're talking about that, how do I get reimbursed for copayments? What you do is you go into the doctor. So if you have to go to the doctor, you give them your insurance, and they bill you. Normally, you pay for whatever your copay is out of pocket, and then you submit your receipts for reimbursement to IMG. Then they reimburse you via direct deposit, and it's usually really quick. So once you get that receipt, you just submit it, and then they'll reimburse you via direct deposit for that amount. You do have to front the cost of whatever your coinsurance is or whatever your copayment is, but we can reimburse you for that via that healthcare allowance. It says, is there specific information I can use to ensure that they still allow me to enroll? And I think this is in reference to your VISTA service being a qualifying life event. When you log into healthcare.gov and you go to sign up for health insurance, it'll ask you, do you fall into one of the following categories? And I believe one of them is AmeriCorps VISTA. I don't think that they require you to submit any additional information. If they do, it may just be your service letter that you will have in about a week from now. Or once you're activated for service, you'll have that letter to say, yes, I'm actually currently serving. This is why this is my qualifying life event. So you'll have that to show for yourself. So it says, how do you submit to IMG? So in about a week from now, again, once you're activated, we send all of your information over to IMG. They're going to reach out to you and say, hey, I see that you're serving as a VISTA member. Please sign up for one of these benefits based on your current situation. When you do that, you create an account on the IMG website. You log in, and from there you just upload your receipt. So they have like a little portal that you go into, and you upload that receipt, and it goes directly to them. It's all electronic, and then that's how you submit those reimbursements. All right, do we have any other questions? Let's see. I cannot enroll for the allowance because I have the incorrect member ID. Incorrect member ID showing that I'm serving in New Mexico when I'm actually serving in San Francisco. Wrong member ID. That is, if I have the wrong member ID. I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry. Showing that I'm serving in New Mexico when I'm actually serving in San Francisco. Please reach out to me outside of this, Jesse, and we'll figure that out. Probably some more details. Shoot me an email or shoot the VMSU an email, and we can help you navigate that. Because unfortunately, I'm not sure what that means based on the information given. Roddy says, does Medicaid count / is Medicaid status affected by being a VISTA? Is it affected? I'm not sure. I think that's one of those things that vary state by state because some states opted to expand their Medicaid and Medicare coverage and some didn't. Medicaid does count as insurance, though, for our purposes, so you are able to say that you have insurance and you have Medicaid and then use your health care allowance to pay for any costs that aren't covered by that. Do these health options include dependents? They do not, unfortunately. These benefits are only for you, the VISTA member. They can only be used towards your health care and your your own personal costs. And I think that, I see one more. Can we use the reimbursement for medical services that are not covered by our health insurance but are not cosmetic or elective, such as certain preventative care not covered by my plan? That's an excellent question, and I believe that you can. The healthcare allowance will pay you you can be reimbursed for medical expenses that are not elective or cosmetic and are not covered by your insurance. So preventative care, which should be covered by your insurance because I think that was one of the provisions of the ACA, but if not covered by your plan, whatever you pay out of pocket for those things that are not elective, you can be reimbursed for those. Before you go to the doctor, though, and go to have any of those services performed, make sure that you call IMG and just say, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. Will this be covered by my health care allowance? And they'll give you a definite answer, and we'll let you know exactly what you'll be covered for and won't. I don't want to give you a definite answer on the phone because I'm not fully informed on that one, but I believe that you can. But just give them a call once you receive that email, or you can go to AmeriCorps-VISTA.imgglobal.com and find their information and give them a call. All right. Cool. So now we are going to go ahead and move on to our next section.
So next we will talk about end-of-service benefits. After successfully completing your service, you are eligible for one of two benefits, the Education Award or the cash stipend. The Education Award. All right. So you receive one of these end-of-service benefits in addition to, not deducted from, your biweekly living allowance. The Education Award is good for 7 years after completing service. Education Award is taxable in the calendar year or years it is used. You can use all of your Education Award at once if you wish, but you may also decide to use it incrementally. If you select the Education Award in about a week, you will have a new link in your My AmeriCorps account called My Education Award, where you see the details of and submit Education Award payment requests at the end of your service year. The award can be used to pay off federal loans or to pay for education at any Title IV institution, and that is an institution that accepts federal funds. Institutions that match the Ed Award can be found at www.nationalservice.gov/programs/AmeriCorps/Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award matching institutions.
That
this will be posted
in
the chat.
That's a long
So don't worry about writing that down. That will be posted in the chat.
And also, if you look at the slide, the Education Award match, if you visit nationalservice.gov and search for matching institutions, you'll be able to find that information very easily.
Yep. And next we have the cash stipend. The cash stipend is paid out via direct deposit at the very end of your service. The cash stipend is taxable in the calendar year it is received. Please remember that if you have selected the Education Award now and want to change to the cash stipend, you can do so at any time prior to your 10th month of service. If you have selected the cash stipend, you are unable to change your selection. Yeah,
this is one of those things, too, that I really want to take a second to kind of harp on because this is one of those pain points that we get a lot of really frustrated calls about. If you don't know which end-of-service benefit that you want, please select the Education Award because you have 10 months from the time that you start service to change over to that stipend if you decide you want it. But if you select the stipend currently and you are activated with that, that means we've got your oath, we've done all that stuff, and I think you'll remember we harped on this in the first webinar, but I do just want to make sure that you got it. Please make that change. This is probably about your last few hours to make that change before you're activated. change over to the Education Award if you're unsure, because we can't change you back, and again, want to avoid any heartburn around that.
All right, so there are ways that you can postpone repayment of federally backed student loans during your service year. If you chose the Education Award, you can request that your loans be placed in forbearance, which means that you do not make monthly loan payments during your service year, and if you complete your terms, the National Service Trust will pay the accrued interest for the year. But beware, and be aware, that the interest payment is considered taxable income. Forbearance is processed through your member homepage in your my.americorps.gov account. Forbearance is not guaranteed, and you must initiate the process by submitting a loan forbearance request in your my.americorps.gov account. If you have selected the end-of-service stipend, you may request loan deferment by applying with your lender, given the reason of economic hardship. For federally subsidized loans, accrued interest may be paid off by the Department of Education if the loan is deferred. Check with your lender for the specifics. Loan deferment is also not guaranteed, and your lender may not offer it. Perkins loans may be partially forgiven if the VISTA elects to receive the cash stipend. Go to edaward.org to learn more about that. All right, so I will briefly mention two more programs to consider to help you manage your student loans. The first is an income-based repayment program, which adjusts your monthly payments based on your income. As a VISTA member, your payments will be pretty low and can be as low as $0. It won't reduce the amount you have to pay back, but it will shrink your monthly payments to a manageable amount. The other strategy works really well in concert with the first. This is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Are any of you with federal direct loans considering working in the nonprofit, government, association, or education sectors? If so, you will want to learn more about this program. If you work for 10 years in public service positions and make 120 on-time payments during this time, any balance on your federal loans is forgiven after 10 years. You apply for this at the end of the 10 years, but you'll want to learn now about the types of records you will need to keep in order to apply. Of course, there are a lot of details to both of these, and you can learn more about them at nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward. For more details on everything we just covered, you can also go to edaward tutorial, which is at nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward. Can be found on the slide. And you can also go to your my.americorps.gov account to submit your loan forbearance request with CNCS. Remember that it is your responsibility to submit the forbearance request and check on its status. At the end of the year, it is also your responsibility to submit any Education Award payment requests as well as interest accrual payment requests.
All right, cool. So now that we've reviewed all the Education Award things, let's take any questions that we have about that. And oh man, my little thing isn't working. To Abigail Groff, thank you so much for the bless you. I really appreciate you. Thanks guys for bearing with me and this terrible allergy that just hit me right before we started. So we do have a couple of questions. Dylan says, having already received 2 education awards from previously serving 2 terms with NCCC, Hala, I did the same thing. Am I still eligible for the cash stipend? That is correct. That's the only thing you're eligible for. Indy says NCCC Gold 4, NCCC Oak 7 over here. Yeah, you're only eligible for the stipend at this point. You can only receive a maximum of 2 full education awards throughout any of your AmeriCorps service. All right, so let's see. We've got some questions in the Q&A. I see one here. Sorry. So it says, where is the loan forbearance info on my AmeriCorps? So again, once you're activated for service in about a week or this week, you will see a link on the left-hand side of your My AmeriCorps account that says Education Award. Once you click on that, you'll see another link that says Forbearance Request. You click that, search for your lender, send them that request. All the instructions are there. But if you have any issues with submitting that request, give the VMSU a call, and they will help you out with that one.
I'm seeing another one here. The institution I graduated from is not on the list of matching institutions. Would I be able to use the Education Award toward my federal student loans? Yes, you will definitely be able to use your Education Award towards your federal loans, and that covers both subsidized and unsubsidized loans. I'm seeing that was another question on here.
Yeah, and in reference to the list of matching institutions, so matching institutions are essentially colleges and universities that have said, if you use your Education Award here, we will give you an additional amount of money. That's not the definitive list of people who will accept the Education Award. So in order to find out if your institution or any place that you're thinking of going is able to accept these federal funds, you're going to go to the FAFSA website. That's the free application for federal financial aid. You go to that website. If your school, if you type in your institution, they have like an institution search. You can type it in. If it's on there, they are eligible to receive federal funds. And I think that makes sense. If they're able to get funds from the FAFSA and Pell Grants and all that, they're able to receive the Education Award. So that's where you're going to go. There are pretty much most major or even semi-major universities in the United States can accept federal funds, so there's a good chance that it's on there. It's like private and for-profit institutions typically aren't there. But there's like some fun stuff. There's even like a tattoo school, I think, in New Jersey that accepts the Education Award. So you can go be a tattoo artist in New Jersey if that's always been your life dream. Cole says, does loan forbearance only apply to subsidized loans that a graduate student will be taking out unsubsidized loan? Loan accrues interest as soon as it's drawn. So you can put all of your loans into forbearance as long as you have them during your service year. And we'll pay the interest on them at the end of the year. Kendra says, I do not currently have any educational loans, but my husband does. Can I use the Education Award for him? How easy is it to transfer? So Kendra, you can't use the Education Award for your husband's loans. They can only be used for you towards your educational costs or towards your previous student loans. The Education Award is not transferable in any situation. That's legislative, that's legal. You can't transfer the Education Award as a VISTA member. Olivia says, if I decide to go to school outside the U.S., in England, would I still be able to use the Education Award there? So some schools in the U.S. have satellite campuses, maybe in Europe. If you search for your institution on the FAFSA website and they pop up and it says that they're eligible, then yes, you can. But if it is a school that is like proprietary to England, chances are most likely not. But you can find programs from American universities that are located in other countries, and you can use your Education Award there to pay for that.
Let's see. Alex says, I recall something about having to, oh no, it's gone down. I recall something about having to pay taxes on the Education Award toward federal student loans. Could you briefly talk about this, especially regarding using it all in 1 year versus spreading it out over several years?
Yeah, totally. So the Education Award is taxed in the amount that you use it and the year that you use it. So you have 7 years to use your Education Award, and if one of those 7 years goes by and you haven't used any of it, you're not taxed on it. So let's say next year at this time, when you get your Education Award, you use all $5,800 of it. You're taxed on that entire $5,800. But if you only use $100 of it, you're only taxed on $100 of it. So keep that in mind as you're planning, like when you want to use your Education Award and how you want to use it. I can tell you from my personal experience, it made sense for me to use my full Education Award the month that I was out of service to just pay a lump sum towards my loans, because I had just finished service. It was December. We were getting to the end of the year. So it only counted towards my taxable income from my CCC year, which was like $12,000 that year. An additional $5,000 did not affect my taxes that much. Whereas 3 years down the line, now that, once I made more money than that, that $5,000 could have been the difference between me being in a lower tax bracket or an upper tax bracket. So that's something that you're going to want to figure out, because it's definitely super specific to every person's situation. Do we have any questions on the phone? Sorry, I forgot to ask. Anyone on the phone?
I am showing no questions in queue.
All right, thanks. Oh, and then we posted in the chat that we do have a webinar coming up on using your education award on June 8th. You'll be able to hear me on that one, and I'll be less congested. So please sign up for that. It's going to be it's a really good one, and we really dive deep into the education award, how to use it, and how to maximize these benefits. All right, so being conscious of time, we are going to go ahead and move on.
All right, so once you are activated in the My AmeriCorps portal, about a week from now, you will see some new options. If you relocated to serve, be sure to update your address by clicking on Edit My Contact Information. Let's go through some of the links really quickly on the left menu. So, the My Living Allowance. This is your monthly living allowance statement that will not be mailed to you. Instead, you can view and print them through your member homepage. Next, we have My Tax Statements, and here you can access your W-2 year wage statement and your 1099 miscellaneous form, if you receive one, for filing taxes next January. After that, we've got My Service Letter. This is where you can access letters to certify that you are a VISTA and defining income disregard to use when applying for public assistance. There is also, if you've selected the Education Award, you'll also have a My Education Award link, and this is where you will submit loan forbearance requests, later submit loan education award, and interest accrual payment requests. And you can also keep track of the status of those requests in this feature as well.
All right, cool. So if you have additional questions about your benefits, at any time during your service, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or the VMSU, is who you can call regarding those benefits. Yeah, and they can provide you with general assistance.
Okay, so we've just covered a lot of information, and it's likely that you'll have some questions in the coming weeks. So let's keep this contact information where you can find it. This information can also be found on the VISTA campus.
Totally. I think if you even search VMSU on Google, you can find it. It's super easy, and also easy to remember email address, vmsu@cns.gov. So we know that you did the terms and conditions online, but we want to make sure everyone is clear on the conditions. So we're going to do a quick interactive activity to review the main conditions of your service. We'll now read off a series of statements and scenarios. So please use that same annotation tool that we used earlier on the map to place your arrow in either the yes or no section of the screen when we read a statement. So remember, click on that upper left corner on that marker and get your arrow ready. So our first one is, I can voice my political opinion using social media where I'm identified as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. Put your arrow where you think. All right, I see one lone person over there for yes, 2 people over there, everyone else is saying no. All right, so let's see. What's our answer? Yes, you can. You can voice your political opinions on your own time, but not while serving at your site or using any of the equipment at your site, which includes the Wi-Fi. You must keep your political action limited to your off-duty hours. You cannot represent yourself as a spokesperson for AmeriCorps, AmeriCorps VISTA, CNCS, or your sponsor. So therefore, don't include the VISTA logo on your social media profile if you'll be engaging in political activity. The rule of thumb here is to keep them separated. Keep your work and your political activity far from each other.
Yeah, let's give this another go. I can demonstrate in a political rally. Please place your arrow in either yes or no.
All right, I've got a lot of people saying yes.
Got
Cole
yes.
saying no.
Got Cole with the no.
I like Cole, taking a stand out here. Got Rose saying no.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like Ryan right in the middle. Maybe not so sure.
All right.
Okay. Let's give this just a few more moments. All right, so the answer is yes. You can demonstrate in a political rally as long as you are not identified as an AmeriCorps VISTA or perceived to be an AmeriCorps VISTA. When I say perceived to be an AmeriCorps VISTA, this is important because as you may be serving in a small town or a local area where you are not wearing your VISTA polo or t-shirt or any other VISTA gear, people may still know that you are a VISTA. So when in doubt about a specific activity, consult your state office beforehand.
Totally. All right, so our next question. I can ask people to donate money to a partisan political candidate as long as it's on my own time and I'm not identified as a VISTA. What do you guys think? All right. This is where we find out who read those terms and conditions that you all agreed to. So this is looking like we're about half and half.
Yeah, like an even split.
Right, it's looking like half and half. Vikram is very close to that line. He's like, I don't know if I'm fully in the no or yes. I don't know. All right, so we're looking about half and half. All right, so what's our answer? Our answer is no. You cannot raise money on behalf of a partisan political candidate at any time during your service year. It doesn't matter if it's off-duty or at home or while you're not identified as a VISTA. The Hatch Act prohibits all fundraising for partisan political candidates. But you can, however, raise funds in support of an issue on your own time while not identified as a VISTA. So our key takeaways so far are what? Keep them separated. Don't use your site's equipment if you're going to be engaging in any sort of political banter or activity. But you cannot, and you cannot raise money on behalf of a partisan candidate at any time during your service year. But you can raise money in support of issues.
All right, let's throw another one at you. I can join my colleagues in prayer at my service site. Let's see, these answers are coming in a bit slower this time. I think we may have stumped them a bit.
Give her about half and half.
Wow.
You're all over the place. I like that Gina put her arrow right where it just says yes. Remember that yes?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so the answer is yes, you can, but you cannot proselytize, or ask people to pray with you. Also, while your VAD cannot ask you to pray, you are free to practice your religion.
Good. All right, our next and final question is, I can have outside employment and or earn additional income while serving as a VISTA member. Yes if yes, no if no. Let's see. It looks like everyone's saying yes. And they are correct. You guys are correct. So you are allowed to have outside employment, but there are a few key policy items to keep in mind. One, it cannot conflict with your VISTA service. Outside employment cannot be like within your project service or service hours. Sorry. Or conflict with any applicable law or VISTA program requirements. Number two, you're not allowed to be employed by your sponsor. You cannot be a VISTA at your project and also work there. That we run into this sometimes. So if you're working at a school, you cannot be a VISTA at a school and also be a tutor at that school. And number three, your supervisor has to approve. This is more of a formality and a way to keep the peace, just to say, hey, just so you know, I have this side gig. This is what I'm doing on the side. It's more of a check-in, but there is a form to complete that you can find on the VISTA campus. More information about your outside employment can be found on the VISTA campus, and that link has been posted in the chat for you.
Yep. And if you have any additional questions about what the limitations on political activities are, you may refer to a VISTA member and other regulations and laws regarding your service, such as the Hatch Act. Please revisit the Terms and Conditions course and view Chapter 14 of the VISTA Member Handbook.
And just to let you know, we do have one question that came in on the phone.
All right. Thank you. And, all right, let's take it.
Okay. I'm going to play the name so that way she knows.
Okay.
Your line's open.
You know, it was like so long ago I kind of forget my question, but I do have another question though.
Okay.
So I know you guys, we cannot go to school while we're doing our service, but can we do online schooling?
Yeah, so there are some specific provisions around that on doing classes. Your service needs to come first, obviously. So while you are in service, I'm trying to think. You can come out of left field with this one. I'm trying to think of what the specific policy requirement is. If you could post that question in the Q&A, I'll be sure to get back with you with an answer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, so next up, so moving on from what is expected of you, let's talk about your rights and responsibilities. Oh, sorry, I just got a head nod from my supervisor. Yes, you are allowed to participate in school. My apologies for not knowing that off the top of my head, but you can participate in online classes. Again, we just want to make sure that it's not conflicting and that that your service isn't impacted by that. Let's talk about your rights and responsibilities as a VISTA member. So prior to starting service, you should have taken the Civil Rights and Responsibilities course on the VISTA campus. Let's briefly recap that course. So if you believe that you've experienced or witnessed discrimination or harassment, and if you feel safe and comfortable doing so, you should approach and talk to that person that you suspect of engaging in harassing or discriminating behavior directly yourself. If that doesn't work, or if you don't feel safe or comfortable doing so, you can also talk to your VISTA supervisor. If you can't go to your supervisor, or you do and the matter is not resolved, then you should contact your state office. Finally, if you cannot contact your state office, you have access to the corporation's Office of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness, or OCRI. You can find that information and how to contact them on the slide. So there's their phone number, there's their email address. But we do ask that, before you get to that level, try to work it out at the lower levels first. Now, AmeriCorps VISTA is a federal program, and like anything supported by taxpayer funds, we need to ensure that the program is well run, doing what it's supposed to, and spending money wisely. Like all federal agencies, CNCS has an Inspector General whose office is responsible for preventing and detecting waste, fraud, and abuse. So a few things to be aware of. If you're being asked to take over the work of someone who left, that's replacing staff, and that's not allowed. Or if most of what you're doing is administrative work for someone else, that is also not allowed, and it's not appropriate for business to be doing. You shouldn't just be like a front desk person or just a secretary. You're there for a reason, and you're there to accomplish those goals listed on your VAD. Finally, the majority of your work should be capacity building and not direct service. So you'll be learning more about what that looks like, though, in the coming days whenever you're in your session, in your virtual breakout groups, and completing your coursework. So if you feel like you're being asked to do anything that is not appropriate for VISTAs, first talk about it with your supervisor, and from there you can go talk to your CNCS state office. If that issue isn't resolved, or if you want to remain anonymous, you can contact the CNCS Office of the Inspector General, and that information is listed for you on the slide.
All right, so that was a lot of information, and we want to remind you that there are a few sources of support as you move further into your VISTA experience. Your supervisor should be your first contact for any questions related to your VAD or workplace. If your project has a VISTA leader, not all projects do, he or she can be a resource as well. The corporation has representatives in every state and territory working in corporation state offices, or CSOs. They can handle issues related to your VISTA sponsor, supervisor, or emergencies that may affect your service. Your online classroom facilitator is available to support you in completing your PSO assignment. And as we mentioned earlier, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU, helps with questions about benefits, my.americorps.gov, or when in doubt, reach them through the National Service Hotline. If this issue isn't resolved, or if you want to remain anonymous, you can contact your CNCS Office of Inspector General.
Uh-oh. Nope. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. All right, so as we mentioned earlier, let's see. Sorry, my notes got a little jumbled here for you. So what we want you to do is to show your VISTA pride. There we go. So one of the greatest things about being a VISTA member is being a part of the wonderful family of VISTA and being a VISTA community member. Anna and Khadijah are proud VISTA alum. And you never know, where you may make a connection with someone else who knows about the program. So we want you to put the AmeriCorps logo on your business card and your email signature, on your organization's website, social media, brochures. The more visible you are, the more support you get, and for your project and VISTA as a whole, which means more VISTAs and communities doing the work that we need to get done. So the more you amplify our program, the more we get out there, the more that we're able to do. The web links in the chat lead to places where you can get VISTA publications and gear to use in your office and represent in the field. And also don't forget to take pictures and share them with us through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. We are often sharing, posts and things about that, and then things like that about VISTA members and the great work that you're doing. So we do have a question here that says, how can I get an AmeriCorps t-shirt or polo? So here is your answer, Miguel. Once you complete the PSO blend, you're going to receive an email with instructions on how to order your free, yes, I said free, VISTA polo, lapel pin, and reusable tote bag. So we're going to send you an email once your PSO blend is over that's going to get you all the information to order that shirt, get a tote bag and a pen, send you some nice VISTA swag. All right, so here's a few reminders of things that you need to do on your part or as part of your entry into the VISTA program. So if you haven't already, log into your online classroom and please do this today. You have a lot of important information in there waiting for you, such as your assignments that are due on Sunday, and messages from your facilitator. And the sooner you get logged in, the sooner you can get that stuff complete, and then we'll be all good to go. The next thing, review your VISTA benefits, especially your healthcare benefits. Make sure that you have health coverage or you get documentation of your exemption from the requirement. And you can do both of these at healthcare.gov. And then once you get that email from IMG, enroll in a health benefit. You'll be getting that email about a week from now. Also, if you remember on Monday, we talked about getting fingerprinted. So get fingerprinted and submit that criminal history questionnaire. And you should have those fingerprinting materials. If you still don't have them, talk to your supervisor and have them get in touch with the state office who will get that over to you. All right, so what's next? What's coming up? So here's what's coming up next for you in your online PSO, or your PSO blend. So as you see, on Sunday, May 7th, that's this Sunday, the comprehension check quiz, minute intro, how poverty is measured, and your BAT worksheet are due. Next Wednesday, May 10th at 3, that's your first virtual meetup. Now, in order to get to that, you have to log into your classroom. That's where you're going to find the login information and the place to log in to your virtual meetup. Forget it's 3 at 2. It is required, so you got to be there. If you're not there, we have to follow up and all that stuff. So just be there. If you, and then the following Sunday after that, 13 lessons about poverty and your community profile are due. So once again, it's essential that you put these dates on your calendar, because we don't want to have to remove you from service for noncompliance with the PSO blend requirements. The fieldwork assignments and the virtual meetups will enable you to really further understand your service and the VISTA program. There's a reason for all of this. We do want you to have this information so that you can start your service year off right. And really understand how your service fits into poverty and just get to know each other in the meetups. Reach out to your fellow VISTAs. We've placed you in your groups pretty strategically, with people serving in your state, serving on your project, so those people are going to be able to help support you throughout this year. All right, now before we get to our final Q&A.
We're now going to take some questions from the audience, but before we do that, we want to have you all fill out our evaluation poll, and that's now open. It's on the right side of the screen. Please take a moment to answer the 10 questions. You'll need to use the scroll bar to see them all.
All right, yeah, and please fill that email. As I said in the first one, we really take your comments to heart and try to do everything that we can to make these presentations as valuable as possible for you. So if you do fill that out, please give us your honest feedback. We'd love to hear it so we can make this better for you. That being said, that's going to be it for the remainder of the webinar, and now we're entering our final Q&A session. So again, if you have questions, please press *1 on your phone. I promise we'll get to you on the phone. I'm sorry, I kind of keep forgetting that people are on the phone sometimes, but we will get to you, I promise. And also, if you have those questions, please put them into the Q&A so we can get to them. All right, so what do we have in here? Sorry, guys. All right, so we answered the question about the polo. Oh, man, sorry. Let's keep moving. Wanted to touch base. So it says, did you just, this question. really hard. Did I hear correctly that we're not allowed to take over work of someone who left? I think that just happened and would like someone to contact to get more clarification before I do something wrong. And then you got a private answer, but I saw that you put it in the chat, so I want to answer for everyone. If you feel that you're essentially replacing staff, that's not permissible as a VISTA member. First, check with your supervisor and just say, hey, this is what this seems like. Is that accurate? I mean, because you may just be taking over for another VISTA member, in which case, like, you're continuing that project, so that is permissible. But if you feel like you're just kind of replacing someone who was fired or quit, that's not okay with the program. So check with your supervisor first, then contact your state office if you feel that that hasn't been resolved. Again, the easy way to get in touch with your state office is whatever state you're serving in, email them. So it's going to be your state abbreviation at cns.gov. So if you're in Texas, that's tx@cns.gov. If you're in Florida, fl@cns.gov, and so on and so forth.
I'm seeing, how long does the PSO go for?
All right, so Sabrina, you got that guide to entering VISTA service that we emailed you. If you don't have it, I can email it to you again. But you have that guide, and it's got the full calendar on there. Your PSO blend lasts 3 weeks. So you have this first week that we're in with these 2 webinars. You have an assignment due this Sunday. The next week you have your virtual meetup, and that's on Wednesday. Then the following Sunday you have another assignment due. And then in the third week on Wednesday you have another meetup with your final assignment due, and then you're done. So I hope that answers your question. Please take a look at that guide to entering VISTA service that we sent you that has all of this information in it. Alan, I actually submitted my form before I finished it. What can I do? It's okay, Alan. It's just an evaluation. So if you have anything specific, just email me and I'll take that feedback.
Alrighty, I'm seeing, do we need a webcam for the virtual meetups, or is it similar to these webinars?
So it is similar to these webinars, but if you do have a webcam, you can participate via video. There are facilitators who do like to use the video feature, so you may see your facilitator and you'll see them and be able to say hi to them, and then they'll be able to see you, and everyone in your class can also. If you're, for whatever reason, you're like just super uncomfortable doing that, that's fine. But I would recommend that if you have the ability and you're able to, it's always nice to see people's faces.
Let's see. Is it okay to attend meetings for the sponsoring organization? How many hours are we supposed to be working as a VISTA?
Yeah, so it's definitely okay and even encouraged and probably necessary for your VISTA service to attend meetings for your sponsoring organization. You are working with them, so you need to be involved in what's going on there. Yes. The answer to that question is yes. And how many hours are we supposed to be working at VISTA? How many hours you're supposed to be working full time? So that's a full 40-hour week. There may be times when you're required to work on a weekend, like if you have a special event or like a fair that you're working, like then you may need to work on a Saturday but that should be like somewhat sporadic. I mean, or it should be accounted for in your daily work schedule. But for all other means and purposes, you're a full-time employee of that organization and should be working 40 hours a week. Let's see. For state tax assistance, state tax assistance, should we email vmsu@cns.gov? Sarah, you should not. You should get in touch with with the tax office in your state because they're going to have the most relevant information for you on your state taxes. You have the ability to call them and say, hey, I'm serving as VISTA, I'm going to be making this much money. Do you have any recommendations about what I should be putting aside? Do I need to put anything aside? That's who's going to be the tax expert for your state taxes. So give your state tax office a call in regards to those.
Let's see. How long does the meetup take?
Meetups are an hour in length. You'll be there, from 3 Eastern. So keep in mind, think about your time zones. Don't forget, because I know people miss and they say, oh, I didn't see what time zone it was in. I was confused. Keep in mind of your time zone. Most of the communications that we have are 3 Eastern, so that's 3 New York, DC time, and could be different based on where you're serving. So just make sure that you're thinking about that when looking at those times. All right. So it says if we're required, if we're required to do 30 hours a week, and I was told it was 35 to 39. Is there any place to get an accurate number on required hours? Required hours are 40 years. You should be serving full-time as a VISTA member. Where do I enroll in health benefits? So the health benefits, again, about a week from now, you're going to receive an email from IMG, who's IM Global. They're going to send you an email that says, hey, time to take action. We see you're serving as a VISTA. Please enroll in one of our health benefits. And follow the directions in that email, and that'll get you enrolled. All right. So do we have anyone on the phone?
I do have one question on the phone.
All right. Go for it.
Your line is open.
Sorry, I'm asking so many questions. Do we get a break?
What's that?
Do we get breaks?
What do you mean as far as
like,
today?
Do we have like a 30-minute lunch break or an hour lunch break throughout the day?
Oh, well, we're wrapping up on this webinar specifically, but as far as your project...
I know. At our site.
Oh, at your site, you should talk to your site supervisor about that one. Typically, you'd follow the policies of the employees at your organization. So if everyone gets an hour break, you'd also be entitled to that hour break. If they get a 30-minute break, you'd be entitled to that. But definitely talk to your supervisor about what their policy is for people at their site, because that's what you go by.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So we did have a question. What is the specific reason that we qualify for a special enrollment period? I'm not seeing any reason that I would qualify on the healthcare.gov website tool. So being a VISTA member or starting a new job is, I believe, one of the qualifying life events that you can select as I've just started a new job or moved. I feel like American VISTA is there, or I just began. I've seen it on there. I'm sorry I can't remember the exact language, but I've seen it on there. So it's either that you start a new job or you are now in VISTA service, but one of those reasons is going to be on there for you to enroll. All right. And let's see if we have any final questions in here. So there is no website or place to reference with that information. So you can look in the VISTA Member Handbook, and it'll tell you that you should be serving full time. Yes, that's a place where you can go to find information about your schedule and what you should be working. And I think that may be all the questions that I'm seeing. Let's see, what do we have? We have one in the chat up here that says, sorry, you got to give me a second to find that. I know we received 10 days of paid leave and 10 days of medical leave. Is there any way to transfer some of those medical leave days to your personal leave days? No, you get 10 of each. And there's not really a mechanism for saying I want to have 4. Yeah, I see what you're saying in your situation, but the answer is no, there's no mechanism. So you get 10 of each separately, and they don't interact with each other. All right, cool. So I think seeing no more questions, I think we're going to wrap up there. Again, if you have any questions that you think of, after we leave this webinar, please send them to myself, send them to the VMSU, and someone will get you an answer to any question that you ask us, or we'll point you in the direction of someone who is able to answer that for you. So again, thank you all so much for your participation today. I want to again welcome you to VISTA, wish you so much success, and leave you with this quote from Lyndon Johnson. Your pay will be low, the conditions of your labor will often be difficult, but you will have the satisfaction of leading a great national effort. You'll have the ultimate reward which comes to those who serve their nation and who serve their fellow man. So thank you so much. Thank you, Khadijah.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And we will see you next time.